So Steve's stopped trying to kill me for a moment so he can go and have some kai, which gives me a chance to actually look around and do a little up report. So we're actually on the ground now, on the outside. Just been talking to a few of the security guys.
Well, look at all these volunteers, beautiful people came here in the storm.
So these are all the volunteers that are actually, feeding the people, buying full wide range. There's, obviously individual donations. There's people like the Hare Christians who, generally, not just today, they've, whether it's Christchurch or Wellington, that's an organisation which, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, have largely gone out there and sort of looked after the homeless and the vulnerable, often more often in ways which show a little bit more compassion and empathy than perhaps some of our state services actually have, which is not to run down the entire state services, but just to point out that a lot of the people here actually have a pretty good history of serving the community. So again, that's possibly some of the things that we're forgetting about. Again, regardless of, I'm an atheist, so you're free to worship whatever your imaginary friend is, but a lot of these organisations actually go out there and provide food and shelter and clothing for a lot of our vulnerable parts of society. So in this rush to run off and label these people, and I mean, the absurdity is these are people that we've always thought were a little bit too straight. Well, there are exceptions to the rule, but let's not go there. So here we are, literally thousands of people. They're getting the coffees and the teas and they're being fed, and I'm looking around and there is every single diversity and ethnicity around me, and again, it's a very easy to spot. There's people here that are actually relatively well off, and there's people that are not so well actually off. So I would feel pretty like I was walking around something like the gathering in Nelson in terms of there's everybody representation, and if it wasn't for COVID mandates, you would probably think you were at a rather sort of family orientated musical festival. The moods have been changing during the week. Obviously you've seen the dramas as well, but overall, initial real response is it's a pretty calm environment. So we're just going to carry around. Steve's going to do a little drive of the perimeter, so we'll check that out. Up there on the steps, up there, you might remember I did a parliamentary little blurb just explaining to people about legislation and the different parts of the houses and how democracy works and what the executive is and what the judiciary is. And that's well before COVID, when we actually had a security guy coming actually up to me, being pretty bloody rude, and sort of, well, what's your problem, mate? I said, then I'm just doing what zillions of people are. There's a person over there. And I ended up sort of, going to have a chat to his superior and discovering that, they knew who I was because they'd picked me up on facial security. So this is the type of security that's been going into Parliament and has been for some quite time. You may also remember that with Jacinda Ardern, when she became the Prime Minister, there was an upgrade. I think it was about a $5 million upgrade at Prime Minister House, which coincided with an existing upgrade that had been done, I think, under John Key, in relation to personal staff. I mean, the interesting thing is I've got a picture. I think it's the old Parliament, which I'm a little bit disorientated, so it doesn't matter, but it's Walter Nash stepping out of work. He's about to go home. It's his last day in office, and he's about, so engrossed in his thought, he's about to stick his foot in a puddle. And you can see in the distance, working class New Zealanders off to catch the trains in the miserable rain. No one's really paying any attention to them. There's a couple of people in the foyer, and it's kind of like, well, thank you very much. I'll see you at the golf course or down at the bowls. No armed police, no fanfare, expensive cars, no special equipment. That was democracy back in the 1950s, and now this is meant to be the progressive, transparent kindness. And again, I mentioned John Key as well as Jacinda to kind of point out that the vein of our governments is they've become very hubris orientated, and the level of personal protection and money that they're spending on security, and yet, since 9/11, we are not living in a safer world. And again, a lot of the causes that they kind of turn around and they go on about this violent, this and violent that, well, those organisations are still out there today. I've been covering the whole issues of political violence and insurgency since I left university, and what you find is a lot of these groups normally are actually funded by have a sugar daddy. It's very rare, the whole idea of the lone gunman or the nutter, it's a lot more rare than you actually think. So if somebody turns around and causes some issue, the best thing to do is the old schools follow the money. But anyway, back to this. Tonight, I don't think, for all the paranoia and stuff that are going around, I don't really think they've got a lot to worry about. So we're going to carry on and have another little ride around.